welcome back. It's been a while since I made another video. It's been a week, I suppose. So I usually hope to try and get videos out perhaps maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, depending how busy I am, obviously. So I've got to introduce myself. My name is Matthew Mackenzie, I'm a carer, and this video is going to be about the Care Act 2014. I've done a little search on YouTube about the Care Act, and yeah, there's about 10 videos on it. I'm sure some of them are just a bit too brief though, and I do feel carers can benefit, and they should do, because it involves them in some sense, about what support they can get in trying to at least understand what the Care Act 2014 is all about. And when I say carer, I don't mean someone who's paid to provide care. I don't mean a care worker, because they have clients. They perhaps visit a client's house, they cook, they clean, help them dress, look at hygiene issues, health issues. Fair enough, there are many clients. So those are care workers. Yeah. When we're talking about carers, we're talking about someone who's unpaid. More likely going to be just looking after that one person who they are very close to. It's more likely going to be a relative, it could be a husband or wife, it could be a sibling, it could be even a friend, that they've come across and they're very close to, or even a neighbour. But the problem with this, obviously, if carers are unpaid, is they don't know their rights, and there's been several incidences out there during the past years and years where carers have felt their needs not being protected. The government's recognised this, whether again there's that will to get that Care Act in there and make it work, I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm going to try and make this video as brief as I can, because I do waffle on a bit, and I will do a blog to support this video as well, just in case anyone can't just watch the whole video in one go, because it's going to be fairly long. The Care Act is quite a lengthy issue in itself. So basically what I'm going to try and do on this video is we're going to look what the focus of the Care Act 2014 is, local authorities' responsibilities, and when I say local authority I mean the council, what they're meant to be doing, what you can do to prepare for the carer's assessment, what happens if a carer refuses an assessment, situations where local authorities are not meant to charge and where they may charge. I don't know if I mentioned, I think I might cover problems with the Care Act, safeguarding, a few other things. That's what I want to try and look at today. So what is the main focus of the Care Act? Obviously it's to actually put carers on par with the Care For. There's been several acts out there, Equal Opportunities Act, the Carers and Disabled Children's Act. There's been loads of them. And I think the Care Act 2014 is just a merger of all these acts that's come before, but really focuses on the care, or tries to. And this really aims to put or increase the identification of carers needing that support. So when you look at a carer, what would be classified as a carer needing support? Basically, if you're a carer like myself and you feel like you're struggling carrying out the care responsibilities, that is obviously one thing the Care Act will focus on. Is the carer able to carry out their duty? And if not, you've got to have those needs identified. Is the carer struggling to help the cared for? What are those things? Is it because the cared for doesn't want any support even though there's a need? Is there something blocking the carer trying to care for their loved one or the cared for. And also, the Care Act 2014 states that the carer also needs, one of the needs is in maintaining, a good environment where they live. If they can't maintain a habitable home or a good environment where they live, then that is a need, and that need should be identified. It can't be that a social worker comes along, sees that the place is falling apart and there are hygiene issues, insects and all sorts of things in there, and the carer and the cared for is struggling. So that's a need, and should be noted, should be recorded. Another one that the Care Act 2014 states that on the focus of carers is managing and maintaining nutrition. And as you probably well know, there have been several food banks popping up around the place. And what local authorities need to really be aware of is if the carer has problems managing nutrition, if they're struggling to eat, or if it's become really unhealthy for them when it's managing nutrition. And there's all sorts of things. Could be education as well, how can the carer or the cared for manage their nutrition. And also a very important one the Care Act 2014 wants to focus on is basically, is the carer able to maintain and develop the relationship with the care for, family relationships? How is it affecting the carer's role? Is there a strain on the carer maintaining that relationship for who they're caring for, and why? And it's got to be identified. And this is especially, I suppose, for those who are caring for someone who's mentally unwell and they are desperately trying to care for them, but unfortunately because of the insight issues and other things as well, it can be a struggle to maintain a relationship. And the warning is, if that relationship breaks down, then that's another lack of support the cared for may get, and the carer as well. We want to try and keep those relationships stable. Two more things is, does the carer have access to education, which the Care Act wants to focus on and say, look, carers now need to have access to education to help them in the future. Obviously, you cannot have someone caring forever and they just do not have access to education, because, like it or not, you've got to think about a carer. It's not going to be a carer forever, and carers do sacrifice a lot. Obviously, some more than others. I'm not saying all carers are alike, they're not. And also, not just education, but work as well. Is the carer able to sometimes get access to work? And other training opportunities, give them the skills in order to say if they're not caring anymore, or if they want to pursue something else rather than caring anymore. Because one of the things with the carers assessments we'll try and pick up is if the carer still wants to actually provide that care, if they're willing to provide the care. But we'll come into the assessment in a moment. So also, the last one would be, does the carer have access to some form of social life? If there's a huge amount of strain on the carer and they just cannot get out, they cannot relax, they cannot get access to any respite. This is something the Care Act says, look, if this is happening, it needs to be identified and the needs of the carer needs to be met. Because if the carer is having a situation where they cannot get any respite or relaxation, then they're gonna become unwell themselves. So okay, in this section we're going to be looking at the problems of the Care Act, and I think from my point of view, I'm going to throw this out there. Carers do not really know their rights when it comes to the Care Act. Even I may struggle. I've been in a situation where I've been assessed and I'm thinking, oh, hang on a second, this something's not quite right here. And it really boils down to what the Care Act says about the situation. It's not just assessments, it's also whether there's access to information. good example is that carer is not really told that things have changed, and carers really are asking for particular support, and the name of that support has changed, so they're ringing them up and saying, I would like this name of support for this particular thing, and the person on the phone or the provider is saying, oh, well, we don't have that anymore. Yet since the name has changed, they do have it under a different name. It's really sneaky. So the reason why carers don't know their rights is because unfortunately the Care Act is quite a major piece of legislation, and to ask a carer to actually even read that type of thing is just plain wrong, and I'm sure the government is going to be pulled up on this. Another thing is, seems to be, I don't know if it seems to be geared towards always the financial aspect of the carer. You know, carers, when the carer is assessed, it could be that we provide this amount of money to the carer if the needs require it, and that's it. In some sense, it's always benefit, I suppose. But when you look at the world of the carer, it's not just here's the money, go away and get on with it. If you look at mental health carers, again, carers caring for someone in the mental health system, it's also care assessments need to be some sort of therapeutic method, and I'll come on to a problem with that in a second. Is that if you have someone within the council providing out the care assessment, it could be that there's a lack of awareness on their part regarding carers. It can be the most famous saying, a tick box exercise. So, oh, you might need this tick, might need not that tick, and unfortunately it's almost a lazy way within psychology to engage with carers. Another problem with the Care Act is that there are instances, and there probably still is instances, of councils looking for the cheapest alternative in providing how needs are met for the care and the cared for. Hence, because the Care Act seems to sometimes focus on the financial aspects regarding how to meet carers' needs. Worst of all, I suppose, is in 2017 we've had several years of cuts and austerity, and to have an act come out in 2014 to say now you have to try and meet the needs of carers while there are cuts in information providers and hubs and community centres are being closed down, it something doesn't really add up, and carers will struggle. They're not going to get those, if the resources aren't there, then what's the point of having a Care Act? If there wasn't the austerity and the cuts, I'm sure this act would be brilliant. Everything supporting in order for it to work. And with all these issues, it can really become problematic to really make the Care Act 2014 work, not only just for carers and cared for, but also for those who are providing that support. So okay, the next bit, what can you or your family do regarding a carer's assessment, which is one of the main fronts of the Care Act. The way that carers can be engaged with is a carer's assessment and a care support plan. If I were you, as a carer, which I am, I would try and learn as much as you can about the assessment before you even take it. So you want to prepare for the assessment, ask for a copy of the care assessments beforehand. And a good piece of advice is sometimes some assessments can be very sneaky. You can have instances of carers being assessed without them even knowing it. So some will turn up without saying that they're assessing you, and they will ask you questions, tick, 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 and before you know it, you've been assessed, and let's see whether your needs are met or not. So make sure if someone is coming up with a piece of paper or something writing down, just ask them, are you assessing me? If not, say, look, where's the form? Don't turn up on the day without no no preparation. Also, you might want to inquire about having an advocate there even beforehand, so the advocate can brief you about the assessment. And for example, a local care centre, they should, if they can't, they should provide an advocate. If they can't, you might have to have a friend go with you. And also, you might want to think about, it's not often, but you might want to think about using your right to appeal decisions if something you feel is not correct, just because they feel that all your needs are met and you don't need such and such and such. Think carefully about why they've done that. Go through it with, again, and perhaps an advocate, and if it really is a situation where your needs are not met, do use your powers. The Care Act does give those carers at least some power to say, look, hang on, my needs should be met. And most of all, ask for a carer's assessment, even if you feel it's not going to be worth it. Ask for it, because it's information that can help you in planning for future care of the cared for. It can be almost like a journal system. Ask for a copy also for the finished carer's assessment as well. Read it as well. Go through it again with an advocate, because it's also to make them aware of your needs. It's also make you aware of your needs. So alright, we're now gonna look at local authorities' responsibilities, and one thing I'd like to point out here is that there's no way I can put all the amounts of what councils and providers are responsible for. So this is fairly as basic as possible, but even though it's basic, it is important. So I suppose there's four main things regarding what the local authorities under the Care Act must be responsible for, and one of the big things is to try and reduce the needs of the carer. Another thing is what they can't charge for, because in the past councils have turned around and said, well, I'm afraid we're going to have to charge you for this because you look like you can afford it, and they haven't even assessed you, and that is dodgy. And also, local authorities need to cooperate with specific partners. I'll get onto, when I say partners, I'll get onto that, because there's, again, can be instances where local authorities will just throw red tape, and the carer will be having to wait to be assessed or get any support. And also, most important of all, when I say assessment, the Care Act 2014 says, look, carers need to be assessed, and they will drive this home, and again. If they're not assessed, then they should be held to account, especially if something happens to the carer or even to the cared for, and the carer is saying, look, I need this support. So when we look at reducing needs, if those needs are identified from the assessment, then the local authority must provide or arrange for provision of service or facilities or resources to have those needs, to have those carers' needs met. And they must avoid delay in the provision of those carers' needs. It's critical that they shouldn't just delay things and sort of try and hold things up. And usually when we say hold things up, they might be, we just don't have the money, and sometimes that might be the case. But then when is it an excuse as well? And also they must, this is really critical, but I've seen this time and time again, they must not only just identify the needs of the carer, but they must identify the carers. And it's a shame, I've helped and raised up several carers forums, and one of the things I'm interested in, and every care forum should be interested in, is how many carers are in that particular area or that particular borough who have been identified. And if it's coming up with a very, very low figure, then again, it's obviously a warning light in some sense. Why is this? and again, it's, I'm going to have to say, a way for councils to save money. Problem is, something happens and carers should step up and say, look, what's going on, why are needs not being met? And there should be power, and there probably is, to take the council to court. So what happens about charging? Well, as I said, there's been instances where local authorities will turn around and decide to charge carers for specific provision when they're not really meant to be doing that. There is some things local authorities may charge for, and I believe I think it's under something called Section 2 within the Care Act 2014, but they shouldn't charge the carer if provision is for the cared for, you see. So they shouldn't turn around and say, oh, because you're caring for this person, we're going to charge you for what they are provided for. And charging of those services should, must not reduce the income of the cared or the carer to a specified level. I'm afraid I'm not sure what this is, but the local authorities shouldn't seek to put the carer and the cared for into debt, because all that will do is make them unable to carry out their caring role. And when it comes to cooperation, local authorities must cooperate with basically relevant partners regarding the carer and the cared for, and this would be like in the NHS boards, foundation trusts, CCGs, which is clinical commission groups, basically board where you have a lot of GPs, very knowledgeable ones, who pay for the provision of services, and also the police, prison services, and I don't even go so far to, again, independent advocates. In some sense, they've got to cooperate, especially internally as well, when it comes to different social workers with different departments. Sometimes local authorities can hold things up, and again, that can be a bit dodgy, what's going on here. When it comes to cooperation, local authorities must make also arrangements for cooperation between social workers and housing officers and those regarding public health. And then lastly, I suppose when it comes to assessment, if it does appear that the carer may have needs of support, then the local authority must assess. They can't just sit there and say, well, it's not our job. The Care Act 2014, the Care Act says, look, a carer now has rights, and as a carer, if you have those needs, as I mentioned before, you must ask for that carer's assessment. You can't just sit there and suffer in silence. And the assessment must include if the carer is obviously willing to provide care, and look at the impact, of the carer's needs and the outcomes, what the carer wishes to achieve. The local authority must also involve the carer, and if the carer chooses, an advocate involve them as well. You can't have a carer's assessment if the carer isn't there, something isn't right, and it shouldn't really be. I'm sure this happens. It's happened to me actually. I have assessment half finished, then they'll go away and think, oh well, you might need this, that, and that. That's not it's not even engagement, is it? It's not even involving. And unfortunately, assessors are put under pressure, and there's a lot of other carers screaming out for help. But that's not really an excuse to just rush assessments. So okay, we're now going to look at how our carers' needs provided, and usually this can be down to perhaps providing suitable accommodation for the cared for. It could be like a care home. It could also be the care and support could be done at home. It doesn't have to be somewhere else. The home might be suitable for it, but then the local authority could say, okay, we can arrange for provision, so that way you can get that support at home. A good example is counselling, and carers should have access to that. Carers are put under a lot of mental pressure, emotional pressure. Family member is becoming very unwell, the carer is becoming very unwell. It's hitting them really hard. It should be some form of counselling. There also should be goods and facilities like aids, hearing aids. Councils can't charge for that. Hearing aids, smaller things, shouldn't be charging for it. And things that can be added in the home, the person can actually, I don't know what you call them, where you use these raining bars to count stairs. My cared for, my person I care for uses them because they're not so physically mobile as they used to be. And another important thing, which I'm afraid is still is a big problem, but again, information, advice and advocacy. That's how, again, one of the big things that carers needs can be met is information. Like what I'm doing now, I'm making this video, I've researched a bit on the topic, and I'm trying to at least make carers aware about the Care Act and what it's meant to do in order to help them. Next thing, I suppose, is what we're going to look at is what happens if you refuse an assessment. And there's several reasons why a carer may refuse it, and a lot of things is fear about an assessment. You know, the idea someone's going to assess you. The word assess means, you know, someone's going to sort of ask questions of me. It's like an exam or something. What happens if I fail? You know, what's all this? And the other reasons is, you know, oh, I'm not a carer, so why am I being assessed for? Why are you calling this a carer's assessment? You know, this is, I'm doing this out of because I'm married to the person, so it's a bit off or worse, or I'm a family member, or I'm just the neighbour of the person. And another one is why carers may refuse assessments is they think that, oh, if they got an assessment as a carer, that means my life is over, I'm going to be caring forever. And there's tons of other reasons. A lot of fear, a lot of stigma, a lot of perhaps even ignorance. But if you refuse the assessment, then alright, fair enough, council can say, well, okay, no need to assess, but they will have to assess under several reasons. If they deem that there's a lack of capacity under the Care Act, say, hang on, the carer is not in full sort of capacity to understand the point of the carer's assessment. Another reason why the local authority must act to assess is if there's a risk of neglect or abuse, not also on the carer but even on the cared for. And if you decide to change your mind to say, okay, I think I will decide to do a care assessment, then the local authority must assess. They can't turn and say, well, you didn't want an assessment, so we're not going to do it. They must provide you with the care assessment. So okay, I suppose we're halfway through this video. I'm going to look at a few other things that I'm going to talk about care and support plans. I'm going to talk a bit about safeguarding and independent advocacy. So okay, care and support plans, what are they? Basically, they specify the needs identified by the assessment. I don't think there's something that comes before the care assessment. It's something that's after. It's like you've got a goal or plan. That's why they're called care and support plans, because basically a long time ago you just get the assessment and that's it. So there's added a further part to that. Sometimes I suppose they try and merge them. And it's always good to have, ask for a copy of what the care and support plan looks like, so you can think about, well, okay, it's developed in this way. If I get assessed, this is how it's going to affect me. Within the care and support plan, it specifies, or is meant to specify, to what extent the carer's needs are going to be met. And it should specify what the local authority is going to do in order to meet those needs, and specify what will be outcomes regarding the carer could be relevant to meet their needs. And you should include the personal budget if when you're being assessed, if a care's being assessed and there's been an application made to a carer's panel, to a budget panel, because they would have to, those who provide assessment who perhaps identify a need and say, well, hang on, we need a budget or some finances to help the carer, and they'll go to a panel, present that particular need. If the panel reads it, they come back and say, well, this is the budget and it should be included in the support plan. And again, critically, the care and support plan should include advice and information about meeting the carer's needs, or even reducing the carer's needs. So that those are the things that the care and support plans should contain. Probably more, but again, I can't go into full detail. The video would just go on forever. Another thing the Carer Act looks into is safeguarding. Again, it's been a big problem for some time, many years, and it still is, to be honest, because I still feel a lot of councils are playing catch up regarding the Care Act. And okay, what do I mean by safeguarding? Obviously, and it's not just the care force, also it can affect the carer as well. It's abuse, forms of abuse that being either the carer themselves could be neglected, or the cared for may be neglected. The carer could be under sexual abuse. It can happen. It could be financial abuse on the carer being abused regarding that. It could be even psychological abuse. The Care Act says, look, you need to look for those things on what the carer is going through. And when it comes to safeguarding, people really should be, the Care Act says this, but people should be empowered when it comes to making their decisions about if there's a safeguarding issue or not. It can't be imposed upon to say, well, you're at risk and that's it, and we're going to take action. When I say that the council or local authority might take action, they'll probably, there's a bit within the Care Act that says that it's better to take action before harm occurs. Obviously it's not common sense, but there's times when this doesn't happen. But if they are going to take action, if they feel the carer is at risk, then they're going to try and do this, and they should supposed to do this in the least intrusive way as possible. So it's not to disrupt the relationship for good. And if there's a safeguarding, and this, I'm also talking about children as well, not just the carer, but children. If it becomes a safeguarding issue, there should be adequate support, representation for those in the greatest need. And there should also be, there's some form of accountability when the council acts. It should be queried, why they're acting in this way, or why they're not acting in this way. There should be transparency in delivering safeguarding, and there's been a number of cases currently regarding sexual abuse and why councils have failed to act. But then this is why we have the Care Act 2014, and I still feel there's a long way to go, but this is just a brief presentation about safeguarding. So lastly, I know it's been a long video, I'm sorry about this. I hope it's been of some help, and if you feel like you've missed anything, please play it again, and use this also to educate other carers out there. Independent advocacy. Last bit, local authorities must arrange for an independent advocate to support the carer or the individual in carrying out perhaps like needs assessments. Also, an advocate can be so useful in helping the carer to prepare for the care and support plan, the carer's assessment, revising, not just preparing but even revising the care and support plan. Needs in carers can change, and when needs in carers change, the Care Act says that assessments can be made again. Carer's assessment needs to be made again if the needs change. It shouldn't be, the assessor shouldn't be sitting there on their thumbs, twiddling their thumbs saying, well, we've done one assessment and that's it for the day or for the year. life isn't like that, it doesn't work that way. This even goes to for children. So okay, why are advocates needed? Well, it's not always obvious, so I'm going to spell this out. Carers can and usually will struggle to understand the assessment, and I'm afraid the sad part is the parents can take advantage of this. Carers can often and sometimes struggle to retain that information regarding the carer's assessment. Sometimes people will be assessed and there's an ownership problem, because carers' assessment should be owned by the carer. It's their assessment. We do have situations where assessments are done and the information is taken away and kept under lock and key. But what if something goes wrong? Where's the evidence? How can you hold them to account? If you're a carer, the assessment's yours. Study it, keep it. And also another thing, and lastly, is that carers may struggle to even communicate their needs. So that's why an advocate should be there, should be helping the carer recognise what their needs are. So I'm going to wrap this up now. I really hope that this video has been educational and that it's helped some carers or some people out there trying to understand, trying to get to grips with the Care Act. And to be honest, it's a really powerful piece of legislation, powerful piece of policy out there. But the resources for the Care Act, as of present, it still needs a lot of work. So I really hope that this video has been useful. Either if you want to comment or subscribe to the channel, like the video, please do, and please also try and share videos with other carers centres, other carers. This is to help carers out there, and I do feel, even for my sake, we are sometimes the last to receive that support because we might seem able. The idea of the carer is that they are powerful enough to provide and support for someone else, so they might not need that support, but that's not the case. We need all the support we can get in order to carry out our role. I'm going to do another video later on, and I hope you can stay around and watch that. But thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.